Okay guys, we finally have the Space Wolf box set ready to rock and roll. I'm going to be delving deep and giving you a whole bunch of content from it so that you're able to paint up your own set and the rest of your Space Wolf army, as I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there excited to get their fangs into it. So we have Grey Hunters, Blood Claws, new Wolf Guard, new Wolf Battle Leader, and of course the new Wolf Priest. And that doesn't include the Fenrisian wolves that come with the elite dudes themselves. So there's a whole bunch of things in there that I can show you, and I need you guys to tell me what content you want to see from this box set. So please do make sure you go down below this video, make sure you give it a like, and then like I said, put in the comments what you want to see from this box set specifically so I can tailor my content for you guys moving forward. I'm going to start this series off with the new Wolf Priest. He is absolutely epic, and I cannot wait to delve in show you guys how to paint him. So without further ado, let's dive in, get that done. Okay, this is the new Wolf Priest from the Space Wolf Army box set. Absolutely incredible sculpt, and one of the models that I've been very much looking forward to be painting from the new Space Wolf range. I have this model all assembled. He's on a temporary base because we already did his bases in a previous video. You can go check them out yourself. Because I was waiting so frantically for this set to be ready, I got all the bases I need for them all done, big scenic toppers and everything looked awesome. This is the head that inspired me to want to paint this miniature so badly, and I decided to make a separate video on just this face. It is over on my channel membership, and of course over on my Patreon is my extra content for this week. And it shows you how to paint aged and weathered looking skin. Something that this guy has 2 service studs in him, so he's 200 years old. So I didn't want him to have like the blushed red cheeks and rosy nose and look really healthy and young. He is an older space wolf. And I just wanted to kind of capture that with my paint job. So if you are curious to know how I did that paint job, like I said, check out Patreon, linked down below. The model was sprayed black and then sprayed with grey cere to give me a really nice base coat for the contrast. And then we very simply started to block in all the different base coats on this miniature that we need to do, starting with Black Templar for, of course, his black power armor. If you are new to this channel, the thing that I focus on the most is very accessible painting videos. I want you guys to be able to watch this video for 15 minutes and then feel super confident in picking up your own Wolf Priest and getting him painted and having him look the same as mine by the end of it. That's my entire goal of my channel. If you think that is a worthwhile goal, make sure that you are liking the videos, commenting below, and of course subscribed. Okay, after that we did indeed grab Skeleton Horde, and we're going to paint all of the fur on this. This is the part of the painting that you could swap out. If you have a different kind of fur pelt in mind that you want to do, like a black fur pelt maybe, then obviously you would do a black fur pelt. If you want a deeper brown, maybe you grab a Gorgrunta fur. There's a whole host of different awesome brown contrasts, and you could definitely chop and change up the fur from that. To give you an idea of some future videos, I'm going to be taking the 3 wolves that you do get with this box set and painting all 3 of them with a unique pelt for a video, so that'll give you guys some more ammunition to know what you want to do with your own Space Wolf pelts. After that, we grabbed Iand in yellow, and this is just for a few key parts. Obviously, he has a knee pad that needs to go in yellow, and his left shoulder pad, which is under mostly fur, so there's only a little bit of it showing. But he also has these tassely bits going down the front, like a priest's robe bits. I don't know what those are actually called. If I hadn't been looking at an image of this guy whilst I was painting along, I did not realize these parts were yellow, and I wouldn't have done it. So yeah, you could change the color out for these if you wanted to, but I went with what they look like on the box, which was a nice rich yellow, just indicating his status in the Space Wolf Legion. I also decided to give him a knife. He has an option as like an Absolver bolt pistol or a knife. The knife is like, it's either bone or ice, and I really don't know which way around it should have been. We kind of get to that a little bit later, but yeah, I'm still on the fence as to what way it should be. We grabbed Wildwood, and we got all of the kind of leather done. So he has a pistol for pistol holster, obviously. Obviously, he has a belt going around his waist, and then there's lots of like leather cords which hold on all his like talismans and like little trinkets and stuff around his neck. So make sure you go and find all of those. And then this guy has decided to augment his power armor by putting a pair of leather gloves over the top. Why? I don't know, but he's got leather gloves over the top of his power armor. So yeah, that just helps break up that black even more so. Starting to see some real progress now, just a couple more base coats before we get to throw on that shade. So Blood Angel's red contrast is what I use to block in his cape. Now this is something that I did deviate slightly from the actual picture, and it's something that Games Workshop do with every cape under the sun, and it's something that I just don't like, mainly because it's really annoying to paint, and that's the two-tone capes. The inside will be like a cream, and the outside will be a red. Couldn't be bothered doing that, so the entire cape, both inside and outside, is red. It looks really cool. It helps frame the model really nicely. I don't think I lost anything by not having the cream on the inside, but if you want to do that, you can go ahead. I can just never get the line straight enough for it to look really proper, so I just leave it be. Retributor Armor Gold is used for all of the trim on the model, so obviously he does have a lot of trim around his shoulder pads, his shin pads. He's got a big huge medallion in the center of his chest. The head of his Crozius is all done in gold, and any other trinkets that you can find around the model, the ends of those kind of tassels we talked about earlier are done in gold as well. But we're basically just blocking in all of the nice metallic parts of this model. Usually Space Marines have a lot more like silver metallics. This guy really doesn't have that much of it. So when we do jump over to silver in a moment, it's literally just a few tiny bits and pieces that we block in with it. So gold is definitely where it's at. This guy likes his bling. He likes to stand out in the battlefield, make everyone know that he's the boss. Trying to be careful here not to hit any of the black or the yellow whilst I'm doing it. So obviously you take your time with that. Like I said, we do grab some lead belcher and we do find a few bits and pieces to do. Mostly it is it's the tops of the wolf, the necklace on his thing. So you've got each like talon or tooth that he has. The top of that is silver that attaches it to the brown leather cord. So it only takes a couple of seconds to get those bits blocked in. There's a couple of other bits that I didn't really bother showing as well. We did grab some Gorgunter fur for those pouches that are in front of his pelt. And then we did grab some Basilicanum Grey for the rocks under his feet. And he's got a couple of charms and stuff hanging off of his back banner. We did those in the brown as well. Or sorry, the grey as well. Nuln Oil was then used to shade the entire piece, head to toe. Even though his head is missing, don't worry about that. From top to toe, Nuln Oil shading. This will add a really nice kind of dark, grimdark vibe to this model. Help pull all the colors kind of into the same direction. And it'll leave us in a really nice position to add some very simple highlights to get this guy looking really nice. So with the shade all dry and the model looking fairly awesome, it's time to start layering. The first thing we are going to do is grab a very simple coat of Corvus Black, which is another black paint from Games Workshop, obviously, and it's got a touch of grey to it. So it's not flat black, even though you look at the pot now and you're like, it looks black. If you held that next to a pot of Abaddon black, it would look slightly more grey. That's why I use it to highlight any black power armor that I do in videos, because it adds a really nice effect, but it's very quick to use. And you don't have to like think about it. There's no like edge highlight after edge, highlight after edge, highlight of kind of light greys or blues to make black power armor look nice. Don't worry about any of that. We're not trying to win painting competitions here. We're trying to get our models painted up, trying to make our backlog shrink a little bit and get cool armies on the tabletop. Okay, from here we of course have a bunch of other details to do. We're going to start working up the yellow. So for this we're going to go for Averland Sunset to begin with. Yellow being the most annoying kind of step you'll have to do on this entire paint job. But thank God it's only a few tiny parts of it. So with the shin pad, we just go kind of 2 coats of Averland Sunset to get a fairly solid coat across it. Obviously leave all around it, like the bits that's closest to the gold trim, a little bit dark, just add a little bit of shadow, a little bit of depth to it. And the same thing when you go in for the shoulder trim. I actually decided to leave the tassels alone. I started doing them and then I removed the paint. I was like, no, it makes them too bright. And you don't want these like really bright yellow going down the middle of the model. I think it ruins the Space Wolfy aesthetic. So I left it alone. And then we went in for some Uriel yellow with a 1 coat light highlight kind of across the top down to about the middle of the knee pad. Just add a little bit of a highlight. And the same thing on the shoulder pad, just a few touch highlights along some of the more kind of flat open areas. Going to give you a really nice, very simple result. From here, we're going to start working up that cape. So obviously it is more of a crimson. It's not really like a bright red. So obviously I went for corn red here. Obviously because we've done Blood Angels red and we did a black contrast or black shade over the top of that, it has darkened it down really nice, which means we can go in with something like corn red and it still acts as a really nice kind of mid-tone. Obviously, he's got the hood kind of folded down in his power armor. If I had the head attached already, that would be a pain to paint. We could still do it, but it would still be a pain. The cape is one of those things where it's the hardest thing for me to convey how it is to paint it, because it is kind of a tricky skill, even though it's not really. It just takes time. Like, if you had 10 capes lined up and you painted 10 capes, the 10th cape would look so much better than the first cape that you would be shocked. So all you need is a little bit of practice. But like I say, every time I show a cape, all you do is kind of highlight the folds, so the kind of peaks of the folds, and then you leave all the crevices of the folds, if that makes sense, in shadow and darkness. When you do the next coat up, you're doing exactly the same step, just kind of a little bit further in. So you're leaving some of that mid-tone red in the middle, and then all the dark points in the kind of shadow and shady areas, and the Wazdaka red in the highest points. I promise you, it sounds a lot more complicated than it is, but it's actually quite simple. This is that example of why I think like things like 3D printers are fantastic, because you could just go away now and 3D print 10 capes and just practice on 10 capes until you got comfortable with it. And once you were comfortable with it once, then boom, you're done. You know how to paint capes. Maybe I'll do a video on capes. Because man, so many models have them. Okay, time to work up the bone areas of this. So we're going to start with Morghast bone first, and we're going to highlight everything. So those kind of bone motifs that are in the center of his chest. Obviously, his big back pole piece is all a big bone, kind of skull and crossbones, piratey style thing. And then obviously the teeth and stuff hanging off it. Also went through the process of doing a bone knife. So we went back and we hit that with the skeleton horde. That obviously got shaded down with the Nolan oil. And then we're going to do Morghast bone and Ushabti bone on the blade as well to make it stand out. It's the one part of the model where, you know what, I'm not actually that sold on the bone knife. If I could go back to building this model, I probably just would have gone with the simple pistol. I know how to paint a bolt pistol really simply. Or I would have tried to do the kind of ice blade. I still might go back and repaint the blades to be, you know, like a glacial, like a frost knife, if you will. I think that might be cooler. You guys let me know in the comments, what do you think of the knife? Are you going to put the knife on? If you are, what way are you going to paint it? Or has this video talked you out of it and you're going to go with the pistol? I don't know. Carrick stone is then used to highlight the fur. Now, because we've done so much of this model already, we are going to go in individual kind of strands of hair. They're not really strands of hair, they're like tufts. This sounds really tedious, like it's going to take a long time to do, but it doesn't. 2 or 3 minutes of this, and you will have all of those kind of fur bits highlighted up nicely. If this wasn't attached to a model, I would dry brush this part, but I don't want to hit the red, I don't want to hit the yellow, I don't want to hit the black. So I'm going to behave myself and take my time and do it. You could have maybe dry brushed it all up and then done the yellow and the red. That's obviously, if you change the order of operation for painting it, you may have gotten away with it, but I don't think you need to with this. Lead Belcher was then reintroduced and used as the highlight color for all the metallics, both the gold and the silver. Little touch highlights all across the gold. Kind of the sharpest points bits is going to catch the most light. And then any metallic bits, silver bits as well, you're going to get a very quick highlight. And almost like a light dry brush across the top of the crozius with the brush you've got in your hand. It works a treat. It makes it pop. It makes it look awesome. We are truly closing in on the end of painting this guy, but like I said at the beginning, this is a temporary base that he is currently attached to, and I did spend some time in another video. You can go check it out if you want, me doing the bases for these guys. And I talked a lot about the fact that I was quite reserved with the amount of snow I put on these scenic bases, because I knew when I attached the model, I was going to very sneakily use the snow to help the models blend back in with those bases. Especially models like this, who already have rocks underfoot that I now need to blend into this base. I could have cut them off, but they were really cool. I didn't want to risk like damaging his feet. So I simply super glued those in, quickly highlighted the stone the same manner as the base, and then I reintroduced the same snow texture and fed that in and around the feet, around the rocks, any crevices, anything like that. Really helped tie the model to the base even better. And have these really awesome, like ancient rune, cracked paved stone, covered in snow and ice. So this guy is marching through into war. I think it adds an extra element to this model for sure. Really happy with the bases. But now it is time for the bit that I've been looking forward to ever since I finished painting that face. Once again, this face was painted for a Patreon exclusive video. So if you want to check that out, that is of course linked down below. I super glued it to a little bit of sprue, painted it up. So now I just pop that off, clean up the inside of it a little bit with a knife, add some super glue, and push the most awesome Space Wolf head I've ever seen into place to have our finally first finished new Space Wolf model from the new range, done and dusted and ready for the tabletop. I think this guy looks incredible. Please do let me know in the comments below if this is the model for you, if you love it, if you're going to follow along with the video, any thoughts or feelings. And generally, let's get a conversation started about how awesome the new Space Wolves are, because I could talk about them all day. How many people out there think they can follow along with this tutorial and get a similar result? I'd also like to hear that. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And like I said, there's a bunch of reasons for you to check out the Patreon and becoming a channel membership. Check that out down below. All right, guys, thank you so much. And I'll see you in the next Space Wolf video.